Maybe it's just me, but I've watched a lot of horror movies over the years. And, obviously, some of them were scary at the time. But I've become a little bit desensitized to horror. There's obviously some kind of scary parts that happen when I watch movies. But it's just my genre that I like to watch now, basically. But this movie was pretty disturbing, in my opinion. There's so many bone chilling moments that were just so insane. This is just a movie you have to watch for yourself. Which usually I say that way too late in the review, but I'm saying it now. It's definitely a movie you need to watch for yourself. I had a few minor spoilers here and there, but most of this movie was very new to me. Like, I knew the little girl was gonna die, but she dies pretty early in, and I knew how she died, but because that was a very trending moment when this movie came out. It was all over the internet because of how disturbing it was, even though this whole movie's disturbing. How sudden it was. Everything about it. So this movie immediately starts with sadness. Because it starts with a funeral of a character we haven't met or heard anything about yet, obviously, since the movie starts with them dying. And then there's this kind of dissociated son. Doesn't really spend much time with his parents. Eventually, he wants to go to a party with his friends to do drugs. He tells his mom about it. She eventually gets his little sister to go along with him. So when he wants to go do weed with this girl he has a crush on, he tells his little sister to go eat cake that is at the party, and it turns out that cake has peanuts in it, which is her allergy in this movie. She can't breathe or anything. So he's rushing to the hospital, and she rolls down the window, and there's a deer dead in the road, and he swerves to avoid it. I hate when people do that. I get you don't want to hit an animal, but I've never had to do that in real life because I don't like driving. Never have. But anyways, I've never liked when people do that. It's better to just hit the animal or hit the dead animal than to get in a car crash and hurt somebody or hurt yourself. I know that seems a bit harsh, but it's not a human, just an animal. It could cost you your life to save its life. That's just something I feel about in that area. If it was any other situation, I would save the animal. But with a car, I would not. Anyways, obviously, the sister dies from the crash. She hits a pole while her head's out the window and gets decapitated, which was actually hinted at earlier because she cuts the head off of a bird and she carries it around. He just comes home with the body in the car because he's traumatized. And he just goes to sleep. Everything seems normal at first. I almost thought maybe it's like a jump cut. It's a few weeks later. They're starting, or a few months or something. Maybe they're starting to deal with the loss of their daughter, but no, it's the next morning. And they find the body in the car. This just makes his relationship with his mother even more estranged. Because now he hardly talks to anyone, even less than he did before. She goes back to the meeting that she went to once in the movie when she told her husband she was just going to the movies to, talk it out. She decides not to, tries to leave, and this girl, Joanne, stops her. Turns out she has a way bigger deal than you would have thought. She was connected to her dead mother, and earlier from the movie, we found out her mother is a manipulator. This movie's just very insane. So, of course, she just manipulates the mom just like the mother would do throughout the entire movie. I didn't look up any theories or anything, but I think that maybe Joanne was her mother just because she was good at manipulating her. Maybe. And then eventually, the movie ends with an absolutely insane last 10-15 minutes. She tries to burn the book, which she tried to do earlier, and it kills her husband. She then gets possessed by an evil spirit and ends up trying to kill her son in a very disturbing, crazy scene where she chases him down the hallway. He hides in the attic and locks it, and she bangs her head. Well, she's, it's like she's on the ceiling like a spider or something, but it's with an attic door. And she's banging her head super fast on the door like crazy. First, you think she's knocking, and then it cuts to that. It's very disturbing. It's very creepy the first time you see it. If you're not expecting that, it is crazy. And the movie just gets even more weird and crazy. Eventually, he decides to jump out of the attic after seeing something very disturbing that I don't want to describe on here. And he dies from the fall. Now his little sister is inside of him. We learn that because she does something that was done frequently throughout the movie that was kind of a trigger of mine. You know how some people don't like people tapping their pencil? I don't like people clicking their tongues, and that was like something the little girl did throughout the movie, and he does that when he jumps out the window. So he died from the fall. And he goes in the treehouse, and it's like a bunch of dead people. And it's a very hard scene to explain, so like I've said, definitely a movie you need to see yourself. It's crazy. It's good.